I always love knowing where and when you're tuning in from. Now, picture this. The metallic thunk of a lab door closing hard enough to rattle the beakers on their shelves. Sarah Martinez feels that cold chemistry table edge biting into her back. The fluorescent lights above stutter like they're thinking about quitting, throwing jerky shadows across three looming silhouettes. At 52, she's not exactly the person you'd expect to be cornered like this. 20 years of military service: Afghanistan, Iraq. 3 Purple Hearts should have been more than enough to retire into a peaceful life. Instead, 5 years into her second career teaching high school chemistry, she's got Derek Thompson's hand locked around her throat. The quarterback breath is hot, his voice a low growl. "You think you can fail me and ruin my football scholarship?" His 2 buddies, Jake and Marcus, are already manning the exits like amateur bouncers. The irony? In the Army, when someone grabbed you by the throat, it was usually followed by a rescue team or at least a radio call. Here, the cavalry consisted of flickering lights, broken security cameras, and the faint smell of ethanol. Historians still argue whether the smell of ethanol makes people braver or just clumsier, but Sarah isn't interested in testing that theory today. Her pulse is steady, almost bored. Derek doesn't realize that his little intimidation act is the kiddie pool compared to the ocean she swum through. She'd stared down roadside bombers, negotiated with armed men whose idea of a handshake was a trigger pull. She isn't thinking about how to escape Hesh, already sliding her phone in her pocket to record before his fingers even tighten. "Derek," she says, voice low and even, "you just crossed a line you can't uncross." He takes that as weakness, which is adorable in the same way a kitten hissing at a tank is adorable. Her smile changes the air in the room. Even Jake and Marcus shift their weight, as if suddenly the floor feels warmer. She doesn't fight back. She briefs him, lists the felonies, the charges, the reality of a 17-year-old being tried as an adult. She sketches a future in which his scholarship evaporates, his father's career crumbles, and he's the headline in a story his grandchildren would never want to hear. Somewhere between assault and battery and attempted extortion, his grip loosens not much, but enough to tell her the first wall has cracked. And she knows from experience, once a wall cracks, you press until the whole thing comes down. Sarah doesn't waste the opening. She straightens her shirt like she's back in uniform, gives them a calm look that somehow feels more dangerous than shouting. "Here's what's going to happen," she says, and lays it out like a mission brief principal's office. Full confession, no sidestepping. Jake opens his mouth to protest, but she's already smiling that oddly warm, terrifying smile. Or she adds, "I released this recording to the police, the school board, the local news, and those college scouts you're trying to impress." Marcus blinks like someone just switched the channel in his head. Derek tries one last bluff. "My father will destroy you for this, but it's the wrong card to play." Sarah laughs, a short, confident laugh that says, "I've had lunch with people scarier than your dad." "Derek, your father's a small-town mayor. I've briefed senators, negotiated with foreign ministers, and survived things you can't Google without triggering a security warning. They're the long beat where the only sound is the faint hum of the overhead light. The power dynamic has flipped so fast, it's almost dizzying predators turned into cornered rookies." Historians still argue whether fear or embarrassment is the more powerful motivator, but Sarah can see both taking root here. Derek exhales through his nose, the fight draining out. "What do you want from us?" he asks, and for the first time, there's no edge in his voice. Sarah tells him plain live the man he's capable of being, not the bully he's been. Use his intelligence and leadership to help, not hurt. It's not a line from a guidance counselor's poster. It's an order from someone who's led people through real storms. And here's the twist Derek never saw coming: she doesn't file the recording. She doesn't need to. That restraint plants a seed. Over the next weeks, that seed starts sprouting. He's in class on time. He's doing the work. He even starts helping classmates instead of sabotaging them. Sarah works with him after school, teaching him chemistry, sure, but also what leadership really means: protecting your team, taking responsibility, lifting others up. Jake and Marcus follow suit, Partly because Derek's changing, partly because Sarah's the first adult who ever called them out without writing them off. It's like watching a toxic algae bloom clear from a pond. You don't notice every detail, but the whole place feels healthier. Teachers start to feel safer. Kids start to relax in class again. And Sarah, quietly, just keeps guiding the shift, one small conversation at a time. By spring, the transformation is undeniable. Derek's grades climb not because someone fixed them, but because he's grinding through assignments like a man on a mission. The same kid who once swaggered in late now arrives early, holding the door for classmates. His football suspension ends, but instead of charging back and like a conquering hero, he uses practice to mentor younger players. Jake and Marcus are right there with him, trading smirks for real teamwork. College scouts kind of watch him throw a ball, but leave talking about his leadership. One even jokes that he's half quarterback, half life coach. Historians still argue whether that's a compliment or a polite way of saying someone talks too much, but Derek takes it in stride. He starts organizing volunteer days for the team food drives, tutoring sessions, the works. Graduation day rolls around with a golden haze in the air. Derek's at the podium as valedictorian, delivering a speech about responsibility, about using strength to protect, not intimidate. Sarah's sitting in the front row, not smiling so much as beaming. When the ceremony ends, Derek finds her. No entourage, no swagger, just tears in his eyes and a quiet, "Thank you for not giving up on me." She tells him the truth. He saved his own life by choosing to change. He just needed someone to show him the choice was there. Finian unexpectedly snaps to attention and gives her a crisp military salute. The crowd around them might not understand the weight of it, but Sarah does. Years pass. Derek graduates college with honors, comes back home as a high school counselor. On his desk sits a framed photo of him and Sarah on that graduation day. The inscription, "Sometimes the greatest victories come not from defeating our enemies, but from helping them become our allies." The wind down begins with a slow fade in tone. Sarah knows not every bully can be turned, just as not every battle ends without scars. But she also knows that patience, wisdom, and the refusal to surrender to cynicism can turn even the darkest moments into something brighter. The military taught her how to fight. Teaching taught her when not to. In the quiet of her own classroom, years later, she catches a glimpse of Derek in the hallway, guiding a kid who's clearly having a rough day. She watches for a moment, her heart settling into a calm rhythm. Real strength, she thinks, isn't loud. It's steady, unshakable, and patient enough to wait for someone to step into the better version of themselves. So if you're hearing this, let that image stay with you. A once terrifying figure transformed into a mentor, all because someone believed the fight was worth it. Let it remind you that you, too, can choose courage over fear, compassion over judgment, and patience over giving up. And in that choice, you just might save someone's future, maybe even your own.